She had to ride the heat of passion like a comet burning bright.
You might think you know Garth Brooks pretty well. I think most country music fans do. But by some measures, he's more popular than the Beatles. Yeah, those Beatles. Garth is the only artist in music history to have released 9 albums that all achieved diamond status in the United States. The Beatles only managed 6. Pfft, pathetic. But Garth Brooks wasn't always the worldwide superstar he is today. In fact, every part of Garth's life, his youth, his family, his early career, had its moments where everything seemed to be on the verge of toppling down. What's happening? W.H. Stratton here, and put on your cowboy hat, strap on your boots, and get ready to dig for some deep cuts as we learn the secret history of Garth Brooks. Make sure you smash that thumbs up icon to show us support, and subscribe to the channel so you can always find out
What happened?
A long road to success. Garth Brooks grew up in Yukon, Oklahoma in the 1960s and 70s, the youngest of 6 kids. A common question for Garth, is that really his first name? The answer, no, but it is his name. He was born Troy Garth Brooks, named after his father on February 7th, 1962 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. His parents obviously thought one weird name wasn't enough, so they got him 2. Garth's family was well acquainted with dreams of musical stardom. His mother, Colleen, did a short stint recording for Capitol Records in the 50s, and was on the popular country music show Ozark Jubilee for some time. Quite naturally, Garth learned music from his mother, father, and older brother too, and the young boy was playing like a pro in no time. But given that Colleen never made it big, it's no surprise that Garth never planned to be a professional musician. His father, Troy, was a former Marine who served in Korea, as well as a Golden Gloves boxing champion. Garth's relationship with his dad was never touchy-feely. His old man was harsh with the kids, even harsh enough to instill fear. But Garth maintains that his father's severe discipline was necessary to keep him in line. If being a musical whiz wasn't enough, Garth was also a star at sports. Which ones? Well, all of them apparently. He excelled at football, baseball, and track and field. And when the time came to go to college, he had plenty of options, ending up attending Oklahoma State on a track scholarship. Still, Garth couldn't run away from music. At nights, he worked as a bouncer at a local bar and formed his own band, Santa Fe, learning to play whatever the college audience wanted. When he graduated college in 1984, he did so with a strong belief that he could be successful as a country musician. The only problem was the world didn't seem to agree quite yet. Undeterred, he married his college sweetheart, Sandy, and moved to Nashville, the place to try and break into the music scene. Life here was not easy for the newlyweds. At one point, they lived in a tiny house in Hendersonville, Tennessee, along with 5 guys, 2 wives, an infant, a dog, and a cat. Most country musicians wear cowboy boots, but Garth went a step further. To make ends meet, he and his wife worked in a store selling them too. For a few years, things weren't looking good, and Garth didn't have a lot of options. In college, he focused on sports and music, so his career prospects were now limited. But just in time, the country gods decided to finally smile on him, when an executive who had already rejected Garth heard him perform once again at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville. He decided to give him a second chance. Just a few years later, he was selling millions of records. But success in music doesn't mean everything. In fact, Garth's success would soon become his biggest enemy, threatening on several occasions to dissolve the bonds between him and his most loved ones. A second chance at love or an illicit affair. In 1987, Garth was just 3 years out of college, married to his first wife, and living in Nashville trying to make it big. It was at this time that he met Trisha Yearwood. Of course, we know Trisha today as one of the biggest country stars out there, but at the time, she was in the same boat as Garth, struggling to make a name of herself in the cutthroat Nashville music scene. The two met in a recording studio. Garth tells the story here.
you meet somebody. Kip Blasey introduced me to Miss Sherwood, and he goes, I knew you were gonna like her when she left. He goes, what do you think? I said, well, it's strange because I felt that feeling like when you just meet your wife, but I'd been married for 13 months.
It's obvious now that the two make a charismatic pair, and Garth still says that nothing happened between them until he and Sandy divorced. But it's not very obvious that that's the truth. Look at this tense exchange from that same interview where Ellen asked the question we're all thinking.
What is it? Was it like a gradual thing, or was it all of a sudden one day you're like, wait a minute?
Do you really want to get into this?
I
mean,
do.
That's, really?
I really do.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
All right.
Now, what happened between them is still murky. We may never know for sure. Did the star-studded couple cheat with each other while they were still married? Or could there have been an emotional bond that didn't quite cross the line until it was appropriate? Rumors of a secret affair between the two have always followed them. But rumors, of course, are not always true. Longtime fans of the couple might deny they would ever do anything so risky. But there is one shocking piece of information that suggests differently. In 1989, Sandy discovered that Garth was cheating on her. Not with Trisha, but with another unknown woman. This event threatened to topple Garth's entire family not long after it had begun. Sandy, justifiably enraged, threatened to divorce her husband. So what did Garth do? Either the fear of losing his then wife really shook him, or he was a fantastic actor. At a show in Missouri, he got so choked up on stage he had to restart a song. But the temporary peace did not last forever, and some years later, Garth ended up with Trisha Yearwood. Family or career? Country music stars are no strangers to the strain that constant touring can deal out. But more than most, Garth has dealt with the tension between singing songs about love and love in real life. His first daughter, Taylor Maine Pearl, was born in the same place his country music career began, Nashville. But by now, Garth was already a high-profile star, with millions of records sold and just as many obsessed fans across the world. You'd think that on a day as important as her birth, fans and the media would give Garth and the family a little privacy, right? You couldn't be more wrong. The paparazzi didn't stop at taking pictures outside the hospital and constantly bugged his press secretary. They made it into the building itself, so aggressive that 2 Tennessee state troopers had to guard the room. But the trouble did not stop there. Garth once more found himself in a tough spot when his mother, Colleen, such a vital piece of inspiration, passed away. And then his marriage with Sandy ended in disaster. Brooks realized the only people he had left were his daughters. But then something simple and remarkable happened that shook up his entire life. While spending time with his family, he noticed his daughters were pronouncing the word both like their nanny did. This one word made him realize he was not involved in his daughters' lives. He had to make a choice, either give up his career or his children. And I have to say, I don't know what most people would do in that situation. You have to remember, at this point in his career, Garth had sold 100 million albums in the United States and was set to sell many more. But the lessons that Garth's father instilled in him about the importance of sacrifice and dedication seemed to kick in, because he made a drastic choice to retire from music until his daughters turned 18. Being a more dedicated father was harder than Garth expected. When he tried to make family dinners, he realized he barely knew how to cook boxed mac and cheese. But he and Sandy tried hard to make the arrangement work, and they invested in regular family dinners even after Garth married Trisha in 2005. It took a while for Garth's daughters to get used to the arrangements. His daughter Taylor was so upset by his marriage to Trisha, she would catch tarantulas and put them in plastic bags in the freezer to frighten her. But finally, after years of difficulty, it seemed that everything had worked out for Garth Brooks, for a time at least. Behind the shiny lives of superstars like Garth and Trisha often lies a mountain of heartbreak, disappointment, struggle, and basic humanity. Here's hoping nothing but sunshine lays in front of Garth and his family from here on out. So let's discuss. Do you think Garth Brooks did the right thing retiring until his daughters were grown? Do you believe he cheated on his first wife with Trisha? And finally, give me some Garth Brooks recommendations. Best songs, best albums, I want them all. Before you go, please smash that thumbs up icon for us. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you can come back and we can tell you